And news at 11, going back over to the Weather Center with Chief Meteorologist Dan Cianca. I got to say, using the AC in the car during the day, but then at night I left the window open, and that was a mistake the other night.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It was a little chilly.
Got a little chilly out there. By the way, it got down to 21 in Bradley this morning in southern Monterey County. So there is some cold air out there. We had some offshore winds across the bay that didn't allow the temperatures, the inversions to set up overnight. Last night, those winds will be a little lighter tonight, and the air mass is not warmer, and it's just as dry. Although we do have some clouds, so
there you go.
It's complicated. It's like an equation. The low temperature forecasting is a fun equation. Anyway, here is a live look from Domenico's on the Wharf. Tonight, we had dry conditions again today. We did see a few low clouds this weekend. They came in Friday night into Saturday morning. Were with us briefly along the coast, so you might have had some low clouds out there, but otherwise, it's a pretty quiet weekend. High temperatures were above normal, low temperatures were below normal, and that is pretty characteristic of a dry atmosphere. Look how chilly it is out there tonight. We are dipping into the 30s already in many locations. Hollister this hour, 39 degrees, 37 in Marina, 42 in Gilroy, 31 in the Hernandez Valley, 30 down into Parkfield. We're already into the frost zone, guys, down in Parkfield. You can get yourself a bowl of chili down there to warm up. That sounds pretty nice. Otherwise, it's just cold out there right now. The air is very dry, and skies are clear for now. I do expect actually some mid-level clouds to come through for a period of several hours as we head to the overnight, but they'll probably be gone by dawn. If not, we might have a nice colorful sunrise, but it looks like we'll just get this little patch of clouds. Sunrise, by the way, tomorrow morning, 7:19 a.m. What patch of clouds am I talking about? Well, there's this small little mid-level area of low pressure just kind of rotating around in the overall large-scale trough across the United States. And it does have some cloud cover associated with it. That's going to pass us by starting in a couple of hours. So that could, if it comes through slowly enough, I think my lows might be a little on the low side. If it comes through fast, we're going to get about as cold as I'm going to show you in a minute, which is kind of forecasted for the low side, I think. So anyway, here's a look at high pressure sitting off to the west. That's going to be here forever, pretty much. So don't expect any rain until February or March, possibly next year. At this point, it seems like it's just going to stay here forever. Okay, I'll be more serious about it. But as we take a look at through the midweek portion, it's just going to stay there. We do have a weak low to the south, but that's not going to pump any moisture into our area enough to get us rain or anything. We'll be a little bit cooler toward the end of the week with the trough kind of pushing back to the west, but the ridge is still west of us and blocking any Pacific moisture way off to the north. In fact, as we head into next week, we see that as the case as well. So dry conditions, the models are starting to show a few systems breaking through maybe around the 23rd. Beyond that, but I mean, this is one particular model run, and even the ensembles, which was kind of like a grouping of a lot of different model runs, are not showing a consistent signal in the next couple of weeks as far as rain is concerned. So we might look out and get something, but there's just nothing showing up really right now. So it looks pretty dry on our wettest month of the year so far. Mid-level clouds passing through pretty quickly overnight, 6 a.m. They should be gone. So I'm expecting a chilly morning. With that said, we will have an offshore flow to kick off the morning tomorrow morning. These are called drainage winds, basically. As the inversion set up, the weight of all of this cold, dry air flows like a river essentially to the sea, and it follows those areas of lower terrain. So basically right along the river valley. So the Salinas River, the Pajaro River, we get these flows that exist. So that's why the arrows kind of seem to point out toward the bay. And once that air starts to feast some sunshine, well, actually once the ground underneath that air gets some sunshine, it starts warming the air moving over. It actually warms pretty quickly because there's not any moisture to insulate it. So we get rapid warming. So we'll be back in the 60s pretty quickly by late morning tomorrow, and that will warm us up all the way to the coast. So we're going to see another temperature above normal for most cities for our highs tomorrow after a chilly morning out there. And for the most part tomorrow, we will see clear skies. Can't rule out a few high clouds late. How cold is it going to get overnight? Well, in the San Lorenzo River, or River Valley, I should say, low 30s, patchy frost possible, mid 30s to Scotts Valley, 30s, Santa Cruz, Capitola. Can't even rule out patchy frost in these areas. Just keep in mind when the air is dry, it's hard to get frost because there's not a lot of moisture in the air. So it might be cold enough for frost in many areas, but you might not see a lot of frost because there's not a lot of moisture in the air. Back to the 60s for our highs tomorrow, though in the higher terrain, Bonnie Doon, you're going to stay in the 50s. On over to the east shore of the bay, look at all these temps in the low to mid 30s tomorrow. Marina 35, Watsonville, Salinas 35, 30 in Gilroy. Certainly could be frosty there. Hollister, San Juan Bautista in the low 30s, highs back in the mid 60s. Mid 60s in Salinas and Watsonville for your highs as well. Onto the peninsula, upper 30s to low 40s. highs in the low to mid 60s tomorrow. And I'm going cold in our southern valleys again. We were cold this morning, and in some cases the wind was still blowing. So, I mean, Bradley, the air is dry enough to get you down to 20 degrees overnight. I mean, that is just cold. That's ice cold. 32 or 22, I should say, in the San Antonio Valley, 22 in Parkfield. That's how dry the air is. 27 in King City. Yeah, these areas, you know, if you have sensitive crops, you want to protect them. Obviously, up on the hillside, it'll be a little bit warmer, you know, where they grow the grapes and the citrus crops in the Salinas Valley. But in the valley bottom, it could get quite cold overnight just because of how dry this air is. Look at that 7-day forecast for coastal cities. No rain anytime soon. We'll have some offshore wind over the next couple of days, and then that kind of dies down. We'll have some cooler air, at least for our highs, as we head toward the end of the week as that trough pushes west. But ultimately, pretty quiet weather pattern here with, for the most part, warm highs, cold lows, and then later on in the week, we get kind of cool as well.